Good morning, everyone. This is Angie Harness with Keller Williams with another episode of Mental Monday. Today, I have my good friend KJ Spurlock visiting with us. KJ, if you don't know him, you need to know him. This guy, he spent 30 years serving as a firefighter. Prior to that, he also served in the Air Force. And after going through those experiences, he ran into a little bit of a struggle when he retired from being a firefighter. And through his wisdom and experience, he's really learned about what you need to do to really repurpose your life when you're going through a major transition. So he's going to share a little bit about that with us today and how you can prepare for those big transitions. The other thing that's important is KJ's a man, obviously, and we know that in our society, oftentimes men, it's a challenge. It can be really challenging for them to talk about when they have emotional things going on or things that are difficult, because they really, I just know from my husband, they really carry the weight of the responsibilities of their family. It's in their DNA. I mean, we're a little bit different, folks. In case you didn't know, newsflash, men and women are different. And so I just really love that KJ is willing to come on as a man, a manly man, and talk about some things that might be challenging. So KJ, welcome. Oh,
hey, hey, Angie. Good morning. Woo, yeah.
Good morning. Yeah. And I completely forgot to say a couple things. KJ's business is Provision Emergency Solutions. You see it on there on the screen. So he's gonna share with you a little bit about that. And also, KJ is married to the beautiful Joan. How long have you guys been married, KJ?
I'm starting to lose track. It's like 30. We got married in 1984.
84. So let's see. I can tell you because my daughter was born in 85. So 37 years. She just turned 36.
You know, we're getting to that point when you go to a wedding and everybody dance, and then if you've been married 5 years, sit down. And we're starting to be that couple that's like on the last.
That's awesome. That's such a great example for those young people to see people who have been married so long and in love. That's awesome. So KJ, let's dive right in and talk about how, you talked last night when we chatted about how you repurposed, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I told you I'm going with the word repurpose. A lot of times people talk about finding purpose, but you need to look and see about being built on purpose. Organizations go through that. They'll build their organization as a purpose-built organizations and to go to a mission and vision. Well, when you go through life cycles, your purpose, if you're just looking for a purpose, you're going to lose it, because that happened to me after being in the fire service for 30 years. Like I told you, the day that I retired, I had a staff vehicle that I drove every day because I was a safety officer, the incident safety officer, and I would respond to all these things. So I always in the vehicle, always with the badge, and that's how people saw me on the street. And the day that I walked away from that, my wife had to come to the firehouse and pick me up, and I kind of felt like a little kid being picked up from grade school, and mom's taking me home. So because then I went through that, like, who am I? And I really didn't know who I was anymore without the badge, and I had to learn to come from behind the badge to be in front of the badge, and it really, the badge didn't matter. It's what's in me and my purpose, my day-to-day living. But it took me quite a long time, and I went through a struggle of several years trying to really figure that out and what I was doing with life.
So KJ, so you went through it for a few years. What shifted for you? What happened in your mindset? What happened that caused you to come out of that?
You know what? I had to realize that that's where I was at. So if the individual is struggling, they have to, somebody else, Angie, you could tell your husband, or you could tell our friend Manny, or whoever it is, hey, you need to kind of snap out of this. That's not going to happen. That person has to dig down in their self and know that this is not where I want to be. And then you can begin to make those changes. that's when that starts. And then we've talked before, part of it, I had some physical stuff going on with my back, and I had 2 new knees put in a year and a half ago, a bad back. I was having a lot of pain. I didn't want to get up. I've got this arthritis going on in my back that just every day is I'm in pain. And I went to the surgeon, and he gave me all these medications, and I said, you know what, I'm not taking them. I'm going to move. So whether you're, feeling down with some type of depression or the blues or whatever's going on mentally or physically, you don't want to move. You don't want to get going. Well, that's when you have to move. And that's the mindset that will start that, like, hey, I've got to do something. And the only person that's going to make this change happen for me is me. And I actually went through a time where I turned the TV off because I was waking up every morning to the news during COVID, and I go, I can't take this anymore. So I went to good music, happy music, and I also went through some tree trimming. Basically, and that tree trimming is I got rid of some folks in my life that was not beneficial for me. If they had a negative attitude about things all the time, I had to separate myself from that. Okay. I had to surround myself with core people that were positive, like yourself. And, we have a core group of people, Angie, that we know that are like positive mindset people. That's how you begin to grow. And you don't do it through isolation and staying home and going, I don't feel like getting off the couch today. When you're in that mood, get off the couch and go.
That's such a good point, KJ, because having, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's called the HeartMath Institute, and they've actually scientifically studied, you mentioned, being in a group with positive energy. So we know when we go to the Fallon All-Stars on Wednesday mornings, it's like, you just feel good because everybody's up, it's positive, and you feel it when you walk in the room. And we've all had that experience, like you mentioned, when you did your tree trimming, of being around people, and then you just feel drained after being around them. And they've proved scientifically through the HeartMath Institute that we all care. There was like I'm going to word it incorrectly, but it's like within 6 feet of us, we, whatever our energy is, it can be felt by other people, and they've proven, and we already know this instinctively, but they've actually proved it scientifically. So to your point, it is very important to really monitor and protect yourself, especially if you're I'm a highly empathic person. I do not watch the news. I don't do any of that because I know that if I need to be informed about something, I'll go get the information. I'll go look for it and I'll find out. But I don't need that because it will bring me down. And so that's awesome that you realize that. And I think that's important for anybody who's going through something. Go find yourself someone positive and to try to, uplift yourself a little bit.
And I read the other day that, look at your 5 or 6 people that is your circle of influence. And if those are not positive people that are bringing you up and building you up, you're not in a circle, you're in a cage. Okay?
Yeah.
So you got to get out of the cage.
100% true. Yeah. Someone's we have instincts for a reason. We know when we're around people that we shouldn't be around. And sometimes we question ourselves because maybe we're not, I just remember going back to, after I got divorced from my ex-husband, and I didn't really trust myself because I had made some poor choices in terms of my relationship. However, you have your instincts will tell you when you're around somebody who isn't the best person for you to be around. And I really encourage people to trust that. KJ, you also, I think some of the things we kind of touched on last night was part of your passion is you're a giver, and talk a little bit about how that helped you.
Well, basically my personality kind of leans back to the servant type personality and being if I can make you feel good, then I feel good. And I think that's kind of a human nature for more of us than we realize, that for me to feel good, or I need to help you feel better. But so think about what I chose as a career path. It was my giving everything to help people that I didn't know. Okay? I would put myself in harm's way on a daily basis to help someone that I didn't even know. So when I left the fire service and I was searching, and I started a company that was a training company to try to help people be able to prepare for, respond to, and recover from an incident. Most people don't have that type of training that a firefighter gets every day. When a firefighter goes to work, they know they're going to have an emergency that day. Okay? So who else wakes up every day going to work and thinking, you know what, probably going to have some type of an emergency today that I'm going to have to handle. So when you have that mind shift thinking that I've got to be ready, and then that's how I help other people, because if I can't be ready myself, I can't help somebody else. So that kind of shift went on. So we even had training in the fire service for survival training, where you would run out of air or you get trapped in a building. You know, how do you get out? You lose your walkie-talkie so that you can't communicate. What do you do then? So, but you know what? All that training to how to prepare for an emergency, it didn't prepare me to know how to retire. Right? I didn't know what to do afterwards. In the fire service, the military, a lot of other organizations, when they ask a guy or a gal, "Are you good?" "Yeah, I'm good." That's what they'll say. "I'm good. I'm good to go." Good to go doesn't mean that you're really healthy, that your mind is healthy, and that you're good. It means you're good to go to the next mission. I can run that next call. I can push that other stuff behind me, and I'm ready to respond. I will get the job done, but my mind's still kind of not ready in the background. So that mindset has to change about how to take care of your mind. And that's why I like the show that you put on each Monday, is your mental Monday, and preparing your mind and that mindset change to put you through that. So I think I kind of skirted around your question a little bit about, service.
No.
But if you find yourself in a dark place, find something to give. Take your grandchildren to lunch. Go pick up your grandparent or someone that's having a bad day. I recently went on a hiking thing, which was my longest hike since knee surgery. I went on close to a 5.5 mile hike in this area, in a moderate area. I'm not a really big hiker. I chose that because the friend that I asked to go was in a dark place, and that's one of his favorite activities, but he wasn't doing it. So, hey, give him a call. Let's go. So you can do that for other people. When you do that, you're doing something for yourself too, without even knowing.
I love that, KJ. I love hiking. So that's awesome. Where'd you guys go?
Lewis and Clark.
Oh, that's a good one. They've got it. Did you go on? Yeah. So that hill, that'll get you.
That's a pretty moderate course. Yeah.
It is. It's real. That view though, when you get to on the overlooking the river, is beautiful. KJ, I want to go back to what you said about, I just a light bulb went off on me when you talked about being prepared for an emergency every single day. Like, I can't even imagine. The closest I can come to is back in the 90s. I think you might know this. I spent 8 years working in a residential treatment facility with juvenile sex offenders, and sometimes we'd have to do restraints. And there were times when you would have a lot of chaos on the unit, but it wasn't life threatening. It was just a lot of mental and emotional strain. It wasn't anything life threatening. I can't. And so when you mentioned that, it made me think of police officers and military personnel, especially when they're out on the battlefield, particularly, of course, and what that, I just can't even really imagine what that is like. And then when you talk about, from a giving perspective, I mean, you folks you're choosing every single day to put your life in danger. Some people are like, well, I get in a car every day. Well, yeah, it's a little different, folks. It's not the same. Like that you're going to be facing situations that could put your life at risk. And then I can, it just helps me to see if when that ends, and then we see, like, for example, a lot of our folks in the military, they come home and they struggle so much. I think you really kind of encapsulated part of why that is, because it is such a drastic transition, you know, from doing that and giving so much of who you are as a human being, and all of a sudden now it's gone. Yeah.
Right. And you spend some of that time in the flight or response, you know, fight or flight response. And then when you leave that and you're just home every day, that adrenaline thing is gone too. And I had to realize that too. And so what do you replace that with for that? Because if you're used to those adrenaline rushes, you can get to a point like I just kind of, whoa, having a long day. So find something else, whether it's a bike ride or a hike or, you know, something that's just a little more edgy that gets you like out of your seat a little bit doing that.
Yeah.
But I want you to think, we talked about repurposing yourself, okay? Everybody needs to repurpose because life goes through stages and we're not always just in one stage. And we talked about first responders and police and military and all that going through that change. But you know what? You might be a stay-at-home mom, and your purpose at that time is to take care of those children. That's it. You know, and every core ounce of energy you put out is for that. You know, making sure the house is fine, making sure the organization for the children is run, reading them their stories, taking care of them, being there to feed and clean and do all that stuff. And then they all go off to college. Ooh, you can feel pretty lost. So it's not just a first responder. It can be anybody that's going through that change that we weren't ready. And that's where I talked about the fire service, the military. They don't train you to be ready to take that step when you're stepping out of that environment and just being you. So whether you're a parent or a business person, a coach, whatever, there'll be a point in your life when you have to repurpose. And now is the time to start thinking about what other else do I have to give besides one thing that'll keep me happy.
Well, KJ, maybe you're the one that's going to change all that because you're talking about it. Maybe you just made up another career path for yourself. I don't know. Yeah, I that's so important, because preparing your mind, if you can start thinking about that and thinking, okay, when I'm in this new situation, what are some things I'm going to do? And that definitely, you know, we just know that being able to visualize that next thing, that's always helps us when we can kind of future cast. Okay, when this happens, these are some things I'm going to, you know, this is how I'm going to start maybe planning my day.
And when we would, as a firefighter, when we would go into a burning house, okay, the officer walks around that house. It's called a 360, and he's looking for other things that hazards, but also when we get in this house and it goes bad, this is how we're getting out. Okay, so every time we go into a fire scene, we're figuring out how we're going to get out, because when it happens badly, we need to get out. So that transition for yourself kind of be the same thing. When this career changes, what's good, bad, ugly, happy, whatever, it's going to affect you. So I need to have a plan on when this happens, because it will happen, what I do next. So start thinking about what's going to be the next step. What is my next purpose while I'm still in this one?
Absolutely. And to that point, you know, I would just encourage anyone to not limit, you know, your thinking around what you can do. I mean, look at, you know, KJ, what you've done. You started a couple different businesses, and now it's morphed into Command Emergency Solutions. Tell us a little bit about what your business is.
Well, it's twofold. I started Command Solutions through COVID. That didn't really survive because it was a training company, training businesses how to respond. I can also work with businesses to test their continuity plans to make sure that works. The latest thing that's developed out of that is the supply side of it. Your first aid products, your AEDs. I've got everything from a little bitty first aid box. I should have had one here.
I see one on your wall.
This is the little size right here that goes in your purse. Yeah. that's a medium-sized one back there on my wall. So, and then I've got them I've been hikers and bicyclists. You know, when you go out, how do you manage that? So the AEDs, the first aid equipment, I bring you those supplies and I manage that for you so that you don't have to, because most people don't have the training to know what really first aid. Do I need this little one? Do I need a lot? Do I need an AED? What do I have in my first aid kit? So I've got 30 years of experience of running emergency calls. So my first aid kits are not a lot of times like what you buy at the store. The other thing about my kits is I supply the materials and I come back each month to your work site and I check them and make sure that they're still good and they're in stock, so that you don't have to worry about it. And then I refill that and manage it for you. If you have an AED hanging in there, I come back each month and check it, make sure the batteries are good, make sure the pads are still good. So that's kind of that giving kind of. So I'll be there each month making sure that your stuff is okay and that you're ready to go. Boom, ready to go.
That's awesome. Well, I have my first aid kit in my car, and I love it. I haven't had to use it, thankfully, yet. But one of the things that I really wanted in my kit was, you said you had something that could clot, it's blood clotting. And I thought, well, God forbid I'm ever, in a car accident or see a car accident and somebody is bleeding severely, that just having that one item could save someone's life while you're waiting for emergency services to get there and use life-saving measures. So I just that's a great product.
And I put that together for you as a realtor. You're on the road all day. So you needed a few extra things. We have a friend, Greg Merkel with the Glass Guru, who's working, his employees work with glass all day. So that blood clotting stuff in there for him, and also some of the little bitty self-suture bandages and stuff too for his guys. When you get a cut out there, they're getting a pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah, that could really, just having those little things on hand, won't you be happy if you had it? KJ, you are amazing. This has been wonderful. Any final thoughts that people, to leave people with, that they should think about?
You know what? It's the last one too, is preparedness. Okay, think about the emergency, because you will have one. Everybody has an emergency. So it's learn to be ready for it. Learn how to respond and prepare. Manny saw that a little bit the other day. We were with somebody that came off of their bicycle, okay, and then the bike was on top of them, and they had a backpack on. We're trying to get them up, and I'm going, you have to undo this strap and undo this buckle because it's stuck here. So it's being able to think about those. But then the latest thing that I'd say is, when you don't want to move, because that's time for you to move. When your body's saying don't move, tell your mind it's time to move.
That's great.
It's time to move.
That is great, and just great wisdom and really simple advice. Whatever you're telling yourself you don't want to do the opposite, because that's what's best for you. Absolutely. KJ with Provision Emergency Solutions, you should really reach out to him. Get your custom emergency kit. If you're a business, reach out to KJ. He's going to take great care of you. I know his pricing is probably the best and most competitive around as well. And he's just a wonderful human being. You're going to get more than just some medical supplies. You're also just going to get all of his wisdom and wonderfulness as well. So definitely reach out to KJ. And this is Angie Harness with Keller Williams. Have a blessed week, everyone.
Thank you. See you around town. Bye-bye.